Normally, Saudi Arabia is known for oil and immense wealth, but behind this shine and glamour, there is a deeply unsettling reality. This Arab nation may be extremely rich, yet it is deprived of one of nature's most essential gifts, water. It's like owning a palace made of gold, but having only 2 sips of water to drink. Saudi Arabia is the only major country in the world with not a single natural river. About 98% of its land is made up of scorching desert sand, and rainfall here is almost negligible. Yet now, right in the heart of that desert, where for miles there were once only silent dunes, Saudi Arabia has begun creating its own rivers. These are not ordinary rivers. Here, instead of water flowing down from the mountains, water is being pumped upward, climbing toward them. Thousands of kilometers of freshwater pipelines and an artificial river network that seems to challenge the very laws of nature. But the real question is this: when there is no water in this country to begin with, where is this water coming from? And even more astonishing, how did this seemingly impossible task become possible? Once again, welcome to Curious Files videos. Viewers, you already know that Saudi Arabia's climate is extremely hot and dry. For example, in the capital city Riyadh, the annual average rainfall is only 116 millimeters. While the population was just 3 million in 1950, today it has crossed more than 26 million. And this growing demand has placed an unbearable strain on the country's water reserves. But when Saudi Arabia has no natural rivers, where does its fresh water actually come from? To meet its growing needs, the Saudi kingdom relied for a very long time on deep aquifers beneath the ground, extracting water from great depths. This water is known as fossil water, water that accumulated underground over millions of years and would take millions of years to refill. In other words, it is a non-renewable water reserve. For several decades, Saudi Arabia was meeting nearly 70% of its water demand by pumping out this fossil water. And the consequences of this excessive use turned out to be truly alarming. A report from NASA's GRACE satellite mission shocked Saudi policymakers when it revealed that between 2002 and 2016, underground water reserves in Saudi Arabia were disappearing at a rate of nearly 2 cubic kilometers every year. That means the country was consuming around 2 trillion liters of fossil water annually. At that time, the population was about 18 million, which meant each person was effectively using around 310 liters of water per day. By comparison, the global average per person is roughly 150 liters per day. It was like using a battery that can never be recharged. Not only did the country have no rivers, it was also recklessly draining its only major water source. But what caused this excessive consumption in the first place? The water crisis worsened significantly in the 1970s, when the government decided to grow wheat domestically instead of depending on other countries. The plan began with good intentions, but it ended up devastating water conservation. The government provided subsidies for wheat farming and encouraged farmers, which led to a rapid expansion of agriculture. By 2003, nearly 85% of the nation's water was being consumed by the agricultural sector alone. This single mistake drained water reserves so rapidly that within 3 decades, the government was forced to shut down the wheat farming program altogether. Seeing this looming disaster, a decision was made to preserve the remaining fossil water strictly for emergencies. But if Saudi Arabia could no longer rely on its only natural water source, the question was obvious: where would fresh water come from? The answer was a groundbreaking plan to create the world's largest artificial river, a project that is revolutionary not just in scale, but in thinking itself. Stretching nearly 12,000 kilometers, this man-made river is being constructed underground. A project of this magnitude has never been attempted anywhere in the world before. Under this plan, around 9.4 million cubic meters, or 9.4 billion liters, of water will be produced every single day using advanced desalination technology. Through this technology, salty water from the Red Sea and the Persian Gulf will be converted into fresh, drinkable water. This artificial river will travel beneath the ground, minimizing evaporation losses in the extreme desert heat. Its width and depth are designed to ensure a continuous, non-stop flow of water to different regions of the country, even to the most water-scarce areas and to settlements located on elevated terrain. This project is not just about delivering water. Through it, Saudi Arabia aims to revive its dream of agricultural self-sufficiency, growing its own crops instead of depending on others, a dream once considered impossible on this land. With this sustainable and virtually unlimited water supply, Saudi Arabia plans to turn barren land green, reduce dependence on food imports, and diversify its economy beyond oil. The artificial river will be 11 meters wide and 4 meters deep, and the entire network will astonishingly extend up to 12,000 kilometers. To carry water to remote regions, special anti-corrosion pipes with a diameter of 2.25 meters are being used. This pipeline network is so massive that its total length could be more than twice that of the Nile River, clearly illustrating the sheer scale of the project. This engineering marvel is not just creating a new source of water, but an entirely new system, something the world had never even imagined before. In fact, if these pipes were laid out in a straight line, they could circle the Earth itself. Through this massive pipeline network, water can be transported across the entire country. But the biggest challenge lies elsewhere, turning seawater into fresh, drinkable water. Along the Red Sea and the Persian Gulf, Saudi Arabia has built 28 desalination plants. Their job is not just to remove salt from water, but to do it using less electricity, less energy, and with minimal pollution. And this is far from simple, especially when demand is massive and there is not a single natural freshwater source. The first major technology is multi-stage desalination. These are enormous plants that separate salt from water. The process may sound simple: heat the water, turn it into steam, and then condense it. But the scale is truly mind-blowing. Imagine hundreds of steel tanks, each as long as a football field, where seawater is boiled. The water is then moved into another chamber, where the pressure is gradually reduced. Because of this, the water evaporates even at lower temperatures. This steam is then condensed and collected in another chamber as fresh water. The biggest advantage of this process is that it works efficiently even at a very large scale, and the leftover steam is used to spin turbines, allowing some of the energy used for heating to be recovered by generating electricity again. Alongside distillation, another technology is being developed rapidly in Saudi Arabia: reverse osmosis. This technology is inspired by the biology of human cells. In reverse osmosis, seawater is forced through an ultra-thin polymer membrane with microscopic pores. These pores are incredibly tiny, so small that if 1 square inch were divided into 1,000,000 parts, only a single part would equal the size of 1 pore. The openings are so fine that not only salt, but even a virus cannot pass through them. This system filters out up to 99% of salt and minerals, producing perfectly pure water. The most impressive aspect of this technology is its energy efficiency. Thanks to pressure recovery devices, modern reverse osmosis plants use only about 2.8 kilowatt hours of electricity to produce 1,000 liters of water. That's roughly the same amount of power consumed by a small household water pump. Today, around 66% of Saudi Arabia's water demand is met through desalination. Alongside this, more than 500 dams have been built across the country, with a total storage capacity of nearly 2 billion cubic meters. For example, the King Fahd Dam alone can store more than 325 million cubic meters of water, making it the largest dam in the country. These reserves don't just provide drinking water to millions of people, they also support agriculture in the desert and help recharge underground aquifers. But there's another question that naturally comes to mind. When such massive volumes of water are desalinated every day, what happens to all that salt? Remember, 1 liter of seawater contains about 35 grams of salt. So if Saudi Arabia produces 9.4 billion liters of fresh water daily, that means around 329,000 tons of salt are left behind every single day. How heavy is that? To put it into perspective, the heaviest animal on Earth, the blue whale, weighs only about 200 tons. This leftover salt is released back into the sea. And because such enormous quantities are discharged in concentrated areas, large dead coral zones have formed in the Red Sea, places where marine life has effectively come to an end. Experts describe this as an invisible danger of desalination. Because when this waste is released directly into the sea, both the water temperature and salinity increase, posing a serious threat to the entire coastal ecosystem. To prevent this new kind of damage, the Saudi government is now working on deep-sea multi-diffusers. Instead of dumping brine at a single location, it will be dispersed across multiple points in the ocean. There is also serious consideration being given to brine mining, a process in which magnesium, potassium, and rare minerals can be extracted from the salt, turning waste into a valuable resource while reducing environmental impact. Today, Saudi Arabia has become the world's largest producer of desalinated water. Not only that, the Guinness Book of World Records has recognized its water delivery system as the largest pipeline network on Earth. And this network continues to expand. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's goal is that by 2030, 100% of the country's water requirements will be met through this system. Another astonishing sight of this project can be seen in the mountains. Laying pipelines at elevations of 10,000 feet is difficult on its own, but pushing water uphill through these pipes requires massive pumping stations. These stations operate 24/7, continuously pumping water upward. These pumping stations alone consume nearly 9% of Saudi Arabia's total electricity. It's as if rivers are flowing uphill instead of down from the mountains. Saudi Arabia's underground river is not just a massive pipeline network. It is a declaration that water scarcity can be overcome with the help of technology. This project is still in its early stages, and the world expects further improvements in the years to come. Today, the reality is that a country with not a single natural river and no natural freshwater resources will host the World Water Forum in 2027. This sends a powerful message to the world. Even the most inhospitable environments can be transformed into resilient, future-ready systems through determination and technology. And Saudi Arabia's example opens a new path not just for individual nations, but for entire regions facing water scarcity. And because such enormous quantities are discharged in concentrated areas, large dead coral zones have formed in the Red Sea, places where marine life has effectively come to an end. We hope you'll show this video plenty of love by liking and sharing it. Thank you so much for your thoughtful and supportive comments. We'll see you again in the next video.